what was the biggest reason the Mavs won a pretty pivotal game, too?
Defense, man.
Defense, man.
Defense. I mean, Jason
Mavericks
Kidd,
defense?
I know,
What?
right? Luka defense.
Luka
I mean,
defense?
this is how much things
What?
have changed. Jason Kidd said afterward, he said, this was 90s basketball at its best. And in fact, the Mavericks held the Clippers to their lowest field goal percentage of the entire season, and it was led by Luka. And he was doubled most of the game. He certainly could have pled physical exhaustion, but especially sitting there courtside, you could really watch him do all those little things that makes a great defender. He really decided that he was going to focus on being aggressive defensively, and the numbers are pretty crazy. Clippers players were 2 of 17 from the floor when Luka was the primary defender.
2 of 17?
That is an incredible stat. When he came into this league, that he was considered at least somewhat of a defensive liability. I mean, he was always a big guy and he was always aggressive, but certainly the emotions played into his lack of defensive skill and just not being, being starting out in the league. And he has worked so hard at it. And you've seen it all season. He's been consistent. And the Mavericks were able, as a team effort and team defense, and you can see the additions they made at the trade deadline also making a big difference. Meanwhile, the Clippers, look, part of it is what the Mavericks were doing to them. Part of it, sometimes you have a bad shooting night, right? And I think a lot of that was keyed around Kawhi Leonard and trying to integrate him back. Kawhi looked rusty. He hasn't played in more than 20 days. And I think there was a little bit of the my turn, your turn, old school Clippers. I'm standing around watching you. You're watching him. What's Kawhi going to do? I expect Kawhi to play better in the next game. I expect them to shoot better in the next game. But the Mavericks, man, they look tough, and stealing that game now means that they have the home court advantage.
They do.
Yeah, Rachel, you make a great point. The Mavs played defense. Okay.
You haven't been able to buy into that all year.
Let's not go crazy with the Luka all of a sudden as Defensive Player of the Year. He was in the right spots, doing some of the right things that he was supposed to. He wasn't off his mark. But I don't want to get...
I want to ask you a question. Where do you think Luka ranks defensively this season in terms of, percentile and other players in the league?
He's got to be just slightly beyond the middle of the pack.
Low 80s. So he's better than 80-something%.
Okay. So let's say he's better than 80-something%. Can he do this on back-to-back games? Can we see back-to-back games? Not back-to-back nights, but back-to-back games, because obviously they travel, they get a rest day there or two before they start.
They get an extra rest day, so it's not every other night, but go ahead.
Yeah. It's a back-to-back game. So when you look at it, they lost this game, in my opinion, not in the beginning, not in the middle, but in the end, in the fourth quarter. The Clippers didn't shoot the ball nowhere near, but Kyrie shot it well, P.J. Washington shot it well, and then Luka contributed in the fourth quarter. So when you look at their fourth quarter versus the Clippers' fourth quarter, they're going to win that matchup easy and win the game easy when they start to do that. You talk about in the fourth quarter alone, P.J. Washington was 3 of 5, 2 from 3. So think about it. That was big. Big points. And then the same thing with Luka, 2 from 3. He had 7 points. And Kyrie knocked down his 3. He wound up having 8 points. Only guy from the Clippers in the fourth quarter that made any sense, that tried to do anything, was Zubac. That's the only one. The rest of them kind of just, the shots were off. You talk about the course of the game, shooting threes. The Clippers only made 8 of their 30 attempts at 3. 8 of them. Where the first night they played each other in game 1, those shots were falling. For whatever reason, Skip, your guy, I know where you're going. James Harden didn't shoot it well at all. Had a couple crucial turnovers in the game, but I'm not ready to sell off on the Clippers just yet.
I understand.
Because now they go to Dallas, and let's see if Dallas can duplicate the same success they had last night at home.
By the way, Rachel, he is Clipper Keyshawn. He's a closet Clippers fan. You didn't know this.
Is this because he sees the writing on the wall with the Lakers?
He sees the writing, and he realizes he's about to jump bandwagons to the other L.A. team.
Not a chance.
Not
a chance.
I see you.
So I saw James Harden make 6 threes in game 1, and I told you yesterday he's not going to make 6. And you said, well, maybe 4 or 5. And he went 2 of 10. And to Rachel's point, I'm going to echo many of Rachel's points, but they looked completely out of whack last night as opposed to game 1, because after 9 games of no Kawhi, all of a sudden you throw Kawhi into the mix, and it's like, well, he's our best player. We got to feature. Well, then what about me? What about me? I don't know. What about me?
Yeah, they had 3 straight. You remember this, Rachel, because you were at the game. They had 3 straight possessions one time where James Harden decided to miss. Then Kawhi, then Paul George, miss. And then Kawhi, miss. I was like, come on, man. I know Ty Lue is rolling over right now. I said, what are y'all doing?
Come on, man. All right. And Kawhi went 0 for 5 from 3, and that didn't help. So to your point, if you're going to shoot 8 for 30 from 3 at home, you're probably going to lose, especially to this team that I think has been, at least over the last 6 weeks, a little better than you have been. Okay. I want to address Luka because you started off talking about his defense. I have never been the biggest proponent of Luka Doncic because he's never been much of a shooter. He's been more LeBron-esque in that he's a low three-point shooter and a low free throw shooter. And I look at his career marks going into this season, he was 34% from 3 and 74% from the free throw line. It's just like LeBron, but he's a great player, as is obviously LeBron, because he can do so many other things. But I kept saying, show me something. You're better than that, because he was actually a liability at the free throw line. And many of the big Clippers, Mavericks playoff series past, he'd go to the free throw line for some games and just brick them. You'd say, what are you doing? It's almost like you want to hack a Luka. And I know most people think Tyrese Maxey is the most improved player in the league. I can make a strong case Luka is the most improved player in this league this year, which makes him one of the best players. I can't quite put him above that big dude out there in Denver right now.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we're going to get there, and that's your guy and your team. But look, Luka has improved radically and dramatically in all these areas, because all of a sudden I look up this year and wait a second, he's kicked it completely up to a 38% three-point shooter, and wait, he's almost 80% from the free throw line this year. It's dramatic impact on how good they can be as a team, because remember last year they bring in Kyrie midseason, and it's just a disaster. And Luka's pouting about it. Okay, you want to bring in a closer, let him close. And through the fourth quarters last year, down the stretch, it was always Luka would just defer to Kyrie. Well, you do it. You take us home, because that's why they brought you here. They have made peace with each other. And Luka has regained he sees back control of the team. And now Kyrie is the co-star. He is the, I'm not going to say second fiddle, but he just rides shotgun. It's Luka's team now. You can just see it in his body language. And I used to get sick and tired of Luka's, he'd make a shot and he'd laugh about it. And I'd say, come on, take it a little more seriously than that. And I think the Clippers used to get sick and tired of him laughing after this and that. He'd miss a shot. Ha, 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 who cares about that? Listen, this guy is a stone-cold killer. And I think he showed you this last night, because every time the Clippers made a move, he just said, no, I'm going to do this tonight. I got this. We didn't show up in the first half of game 1, but we're here tonight. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you said he was a stone-cold killer. Yeah. That fourth quarter pull-up three that he made, where it was just,
I was hoping he stepped out of bounds.
126
it was
left.
Like
it's right in James's face.
And that's what I was going to say, too, about your LeBron comparison, is that he talks a lot. He watched about a bunch of LeBron YouTube videos growing up. That's who he modeled his game after. But he's got a lot of heart in him also. Watch this, and the way he does it, right? Little sidestep. It's not just the step back. He does that sidestep move that Harden does. And he just, it's like it's nothing. He's like, oh, boom, there we go. Boom. And then the emotion after it, too.
He went Westbrook, man. He was going primal scream.
And you can hear him echo around the arena. And his emotion throughout. And it's funny, Jason Kidd, who, by the way, deserves a lot of credit for that chemistry improvement there. And Kyrie, by the way, deserves a lot of credit for the chemistry improvement that's happened there. But Jason said afterward, he said, oh, Luka, hasn't gotten a tech in a while. And he got a tech in this game in the second half, and he goes, I think sometimes conversely, it focuses him in a way you wouldn't expect. That he's like, okay, now I got to buckle down.
On a made shot, he wanted the and one.
Oh, he was clear afterward that he's like, that was a mistake, that tech, that should be rescinded. But what player has ever gotten a tech that shouldn't be rescinded?
And then I got to show one quick Kyrie pass. I know you caught this in the third quarter, and it's apropos of nothing, but it's just so spectacular. So you say, the behind the back. It's like genius. It's just like, okay, there's only one guy who does these sort of things, right?
I was trying to figure out how he was able to do that and get it right in the spot.
Hit him right.
If I try that, it's going out of bounds.
Yeah. Can I speak on Kyrie for a minute, please? I understand all of the stuff he has done off the court, and that stuff, they weren't mistakes. Those were decisions on his part. He made those decisions. He's a grown-up. He's accountable for them. I want to give him, though, so much credit. All we ask of people is growth, right? You can't be perfect, and all we ask from you to do is learn from the things that you do wrong, be better, strive to be better.
Thank you.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
And he has done that. And he had a great line to me earlier this season. I was sitting down with him for an interview, and he goes, "I've learned not to touch the stove when it's hot." And to me, that was sort of the encapsulating sentence of how he has grown. And he has put his head down. He has let his basketball do the talking.
Well, we haven't heard much about him
he has
in a
been
good way, right?
An elite teammate. Those guys in that locker room talk over and over about how Luka's a star. There's no question. But Kyrie is the voice in the locker room. He really has become the veteran presence for them that has been such a leader in the leadership role. And I just want to give him credit because we talked about it so much when he was screwing up for years. And he deserved all of those conversations.
Yeah, he did.
But he deserves this too, because he has done the thing that we kept asking him to do. And I hope it lasts.
Keyshawn's having a hard time with this because he just doesn't want to buy in.
No?
He hears it, but he doesn't.
Which part?
All of the above. Like anything Dallas Mavericks, you're still not sold.
Because one, you know, they won whatever, 11 or 12, 12 or 13.
12 or 13
12 or
down the
13
stretch,
games down the stretch. I look at the opponents, okay? The opponents are not the same as this opponent. We talked about, as Rachel talked about, Kawhi coming back into the fold. We mentioned yesterday he was getting back in the lineup. Things were going to be rough and tough on them to try to figure out whose turn, who goes next. Is it that coach is going to draw up something for Kawhi or draw up something for PG or draw up something for Harden, or are they just going to go out there and do what they did the first 11 games that they will all get together? Well, they did exactly that. So when I look at that, I say to myself, that correction is coming once they sit down and they watch the film and Ty Lue is explaining to them and B. Shaw's explaining to them and they're looking at it and they see self-correction. They're not going to repeat the same mistakes in game 3 unless they're just like a brick or something and it doesn't understand. And so when I look at the Mavs, I understand that we like Luka. We're going to find all the positive things to say about his improvement in his game. There's no question about it. But they also know how to isolate him and find him and put him in vulnerable situations as well as Kyrie. They were not able to do that on a consistent basis last night. But going forward, I think they will be able to, because we can sit here, and I think all of us would agree, Ty Lue's probably one of the top 3 coaches in all of the NBA, if not the top coach, even though he hadn't won a championship.
Top 1, yeah.
Yeah, it just depends. I'm talking about just coaching, understanding, changes, philosophy. So that's why I have a hard time saying to myself, I'm not ready to just be like, they're going to challenge Denver because their path is easy. Consider they may get like an OKC. All of a sudden they dominate that. Now they go to Denver and they give Denver a hard shot if Denver gets out of Los Angeles alive in the next couple games. Be quiet, Rachel. I see you in the corner of my eye. And so you start to think about it, and we, for some reason, we always want to anoint somebody and turn them into something. Sure. I'm like, show me a little bit more. Just show me a little bit more.
What more do you need to see from him?
I need to see more. I just need to see when Skip sits around and tells me about superstars getting it done and finishing the deal, finish the deal.
Well, I mean,
if we gonna be objective and fair about certain players, I don't give a damn who it is, Rachel. Let's show me.
All right,
because he was 5 of 14 from 3.
He did not shoot it that well.
He did not shoot it that well, but we're sitting here acting as though he shot 70% from the field or something like that. And that, slow it down. That's all. Just to slow it down.
He had 2 guys in his face most of the night.
All superstars have 2 guys in their face most of the night.
So do you have to win a ring to be a superstar? Are we back to that?
No, because it is not all based on one sole individual. But if you're a cold-blooded killer, guess what you're going to do? You're going to put the team on your back. You're going to finish the deal, and it's going to amount to a ring. You're going to at least get them to the championship.
Right.
At least get them there. We act as though as the Dallas Mavericks have already, this isn't Dirk that's gone and won a championship. We still waiting for them to get to a final.
I understand.
Not a Western Conference final, but a final. That's all I'm saying. So that's why I always have reserve in these situations, Rachel.
Fair.
I'm not a hater. I'm just objective.
Wow,
I'm just starting to believe he's made of championship stuff. Now, you got to go do it now.
Okay, it's interesting you said that, because someone that, I always like to say someone that's dialed into the NBA, seriously, we had this conversation yesterday when for some reason after I got off from work, and they said they didn't know if he could be the lead dog on a championship team. That's what they told me yesterday.
Fair question.
They said the lead dog on a championship team.
All right. Well, we're about to find out.
That's what I want to see.
They did get to a conference final.
Yes. I don't think that's a question at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think there's any question about that. That doesn't mean he's going to win. And you know, look, it depends on who else you run into in the playoffs and what round. And you've got a team, as you point out, it's a team sport and all that stuff. But man, I don't have a single doubt that he could be the lead dog on a championship team at all.
He
just needs a team around
He is
him to be
25 years of age,
Yes.
but he has played, this is his 6th, he's winding up his 6th NBA season after playing 3 over there.
So that's 9-10 seasons of professional basketball.
He feels like a
He was
grizzled
13
vet.
when he started.
I don't care if he was 9, Rachel. You're a professional basketball player.
But he was 13 years old. You can't count that as like his NBA training. Come on. I mean,
over there, some people would tell you there's the things that they do overseas from a skill set standpoint is much harder than some of the stuff that happens in the NBA.
that is true. But I feel like
even if you're 9 years old.
All right.
I don't think there's any doubt about
Keyshawn,
his
to your point, I got to show you one pivotal play at the end of the game on an inbounds pass to Luka, in which the game teeters because it's 93-90 Dallas with 20 seconds left. And check out what Luka pulls off. He gets the ball inbounds, takes a dribble, and
don't hesitate. Go get it.
He is stuck because it's cardinal sin. He goes up with no real plan of what he's going to do. He leaves his feet, and at the last second, he thinks, I'll bounce pass it to Kyrie.
Step out of bounds.
He barely gets it past Terrence Mann, who's kind of playing center field.
If he just go and don't hesitate.
Hey, we could be having a different conversation right now.
But that's But here's what I would say. That's still a great play by Luka to be able to stay in bounds, not step out of bounds. And get the ball to Kyrie. Still a good play, Brian.
There's some basketball genius operating there to go up and then bounce it past Terrence Mann, long bounce it past him to Kyrie breaking up court, and then Kyrie got fouled, made his 2 free throws, and you're pretty much home.
That's the LeBron influence.
I was just about to say, that's a little bit of a LeBron
It is.
Right?
I agree. All right.
Right. And by the way, what led to that inbounds was the coach's challenge and overturning.
And it got overturned.
Which really surprised me because he did slap his arm, but it tells me we are in fact playing.
Kawhi scored, and they challenged that he got fouled.
Oh, yeah.
He slaps his arm. And
well, why did they?
Why did they overturn it? Maybe Jason Kidd is right. It's 90s basketball. I don't know. We're just letting it all
that got
go
overturned
now.
the other night. In a Laker game, I think it was, right? With D. Russ?
It did. I will tell you.
In the third quarter?
I was talking to Jason Kidd after the game, just in the hallway, and he said, we definitely noticed the way the games were changing, being officiated, starting around March. He said, and we talked to the team about you can be more physical now. Yeah,
Zubac was backing down last night. He was just... And I was like, oh, okay, this is back in the day now. They're just going to let him play.
Yeah, but you can see it. And you can see, again, the fact that Kyrie took the swipe at Kawhi's arm. And by the way, not only was it okay, it was overturned.
It was overturned because there's a little more football element to basketball.
And that would have cut it down to 2 instead of 3, right?
Yeah, if he had made the shot.
Yeah, made the free throws.
Kawhi makes his 3 throws generally. And yeah, absolutely. Then all of a sudden, we're talking about a different game, too.
All right, Keyshawn, do you think the Clippers go back to the drawing board and figure this out enough they can win at least one of these games in Dallas?
I do.
Okay.
I don't think that this is... I never thought it would be over on some sweep stuff at all. I think it's going to be a tennis match, ping-pong, and back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's what I think. I think that the Clippers still won in Dallas. They come back home, they get that when they go back to Dallas and lose, and they come home for Game 7.
Okay, and you have them in 7.
Yeah, I got them in 7. Okay. It was in 6, now it moves to 7.
Okay.
He's a Clipper fan now.
I'm not a damn Clipper fan, Rachel.
You keep saying that.
I am, what I am a fan of is basketball, and I'm a fan of the 4 guys from Southern California.
Well, that's why.
And I'm a fan of Brian Shaw's, I'm a fan of Ty Lue's.
Yes.
And,
I think that makes you a Clipper fan.
No. I've never been to a Clipper game inside a Staples Center. We had this conversation yesterday, me and Paul Pierce. Never been inside a Staples Center, only when they played at the sports arena. And the reason we would go is because of the DARE, you love this, huh? The DARE program would give tickets away, and we would have to go to the police station and get the free tickets to go to the Clipper game. That's the only time I would go to Clipper
And there
game.
were stacks of them.
Stacks of them.
Just
Because it was like 5,000 people that would be at an 18,000-seat arena.
They weren't giving away Lakers tickets.
No, they were not giving away.
The DARE program was not giving away Lakers
not at all.
tickets.
So you don't think Clippers got in your soul a little bit?
Never.
Never?
Never.
Sure.
No, I'm not Marcellus Wiley. I'm not a Clipper fan.
I do think that the Clippers certainly have the potential to steal one of these games. I think this would be a 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
It's two great teams. I mean, this is so much fun. Look at the combined All-Star appearances on the court.
And as bad as the Clippers, think about this though. As bad as the Clippers shot it last night, they almost won the game in the end. They were right there in the end of winning the game, and they played bad.
Hey.
And Dallas had to play, you had to have guys like P.J. Washington ball out in the fourth quarter to pull away.
Yeah.
Okay, to your point.
Although what's-his-face did get hurt. Hardaway Jr.
He got hurt, but more important, Daniel Gafford got hurt early, had a back injury. Remember, when they were winning 12 out of 13, he made 70 of 89 shots over that stretch. It's like ridiculous. And last night, he scored none. I mean, he was gone quickly to a back injury. So if he can bounce back, to me, it still boils down to Luka being better than anybody on the other team. And they're all great in their own rights, but they all have their aging issues or their injury issues, and Kawhi's got the knee, and I'm not sure about it.
Let's see. Let's see if Kawhi shakes the rust off, because we've seen great matchups between these two teams in the playoffs.
Have we?
And I was sitting in Dallas for a game where Kawhi had one of his elite, perfect playoff games.
Was it the one where out here, Dallas had won games 1 and 2 at Clippers, and then on a Friday night in Dallas, that one?
Yes.
Where that was the most shocking game I think I've seen in 10 years, where I just said, well, they're cooked.
Kawhi Leonard
and
can still
Kawhi
do
and
that,
Paul
by
George
the way.
just said, no, watch this, and Kawhi was spectacular.
So let's see.
Okay, I still got the Mavericks in 6, and it's not because I worked in Dallas, Keyshawn. It's just because Luka has arrived as a superstar.
Don't do that.
Arrived.
Don't do that.
Superstar.
Just telling you.
Yep. Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Do you want more highlights from the show? Make sure to click that subscribe button for all the exclusive content from Undisputed.